Just going live here. It's 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and this is the Empowered Empath series, and I am Michael Lott. Welcome. We're going to wait a few minutes just to see if anyone is online and would like to join this discussion live. So I'm real excited to be here. Just got back from a nice bike ride outside, and yeah, I'm ready to share some stuff with you all. So the purpose of this series, we're on episode 3 now, is to help us create, as you know, we have to do it individually, but help us create this deeper connection with ourself. That is one of the big missing pieces in the world today, is that external stuff that we focus on, versus when we have situations arise, having that level of connection with ourself and that reliable connection with our soul, that oftentimes we have, set it to the side. So today we're going to dive into a process. If you're joining me live on Instagram, I can see you just by joining. I can see your posts. If you're joining live on YouTube or Facebook, welcome. I do need you to post, say hey, and then I'll know you're there. So post in the comments. And please shoot any questions, thoughts, comments, or things that resonate to you, or maybe come to the surface as we go along this conversation today. These conversations and explorations are a conglomeration of like my life's experience that I bring to the table. It's really important, I feel, to be super authentic at this time on the planet. We need it. We need to hear the truth, and the truth lies within each and every one of us, within yourself. Hey, Sherry from Hawaii, welcome to have you here. Awesome. So yeah, we're gonna take a dive today into 5 steps that over really these last 15 years, actually it goes back farther than that, almost 20 years, when I started going through a lot of significant change, that these 5 steps started happening. And so I didn't recognize that I was doing these 5 steps. It's taken me many years to recognize all of these and put them into this process. But earlier this year, I'm developing this course for these 5 steps, and I realized that, oh my gosh, these are really important pieces. I don't know about you all, but sometimes when you do something and it's automatic, you don't realize that it's really good to share it with other people and put it out there in a way, in a process that others can follow, that may not be so obvious, or may not be ingrained. But it's taken me a long time to work this out, and it's something I use all the time. Even if I'm not conscious of it, my mind goes in this rhythm. So this series is all about being an empath and a sensitive. And the most important thing we can do is learn to develop a deeper relationship with ourself. And so this 5 steps is really about that. Last week, I took some time to talk about self-care and how important that is. As a sensitive and an empath, we all need it, and there's so many different levels. We kind of ended to the deeper part of the conversation with the importance of developing a self-care rhythm, or something that, to me, daily is really important, because 24 hours is a pretty powerful cycle that we as humans kind of live by. So something regularly every day. Some of you might need something more than every day, like check-ins or that kind of thing. But something, and it's not about the time as much as it is starting with a commitment to ourself. One of my teachers over the years, I've really thought of this idea of relationship as a relay. It's something that at any time we can stop the moment we stop the relay, whether it's with someone else or with ourself. We can begin to get more caught up in these external, and we start relaying externally, but we forget our internal relay with ourself. And that whole idea of relationship is about just this concept of relay, this consistent relay that we have with ourselves. And over time, as part of yogic philosophy and what I've learned from my yoga practice, is that creating a rhythm is so important for this. And you can do whatever resonates to your soul. That's the beauty of this. So let's get started on this 5 steps. As an empath and sensitive, and I'm sure many of you out there that may relate to this, you have this heightened sensitivity, and it can come across when the heightened sensitivity brings up emotions that don't feel good, and then you want to turn it off. But what I've learned on my process is the importance of learning to savor. Yes, even savor the negative stuff, because the negative stuff is a flip side to something positive. And until we see the purpose behind the negative, we can't really own that positive, that other part of the perspective that is there for us. So, hey Sage, and I see Donna has joined at some point on Instagram. Good to have you all. So, thus this 5-step process came together. So I'm going to pop this on the screen if you're on Facebook or Instagram, so you can see the word. Getting used to these new streaming tools, it's kind of fun. But it's S.A.V.O.R, S-A-V-O-R. And each one of these steps is a part of the process. I'm developing a course around this online that at some point I'll put out there when it's ready. But the first one, so let's say that whether you're in a deep transformation, change that's challenging, or whether you are in something day to day that you run up against, you can use this process. It can be something you go through really fast, or it can be something that you can go through over years. So it works in a lot of different ways. So let's say I'm gonna give you 2 scenarios. The first scenario is a day-to-day one. So like today, for example, I was feeling a little bit off, and as a sensitive person, that stuff comes up really fast, and something small can feel really large. And so when that happens, I've learned, and I don't always do it great, but I've learned the first part of S.A.V.O.R is to slow down and or stop, whether that's mentally pausing or physically pausing and going, wait, this is going on. I need to pay attention to it. So for those day-to-day quick things, that's how we're going to talk about the S in S.A.V.O.R. It's to slow down and or stop what you're doing and just notice. Tune into that place of observation and noticing. Now, for some people, that may be really challenging, and you have to develop a rhythm or something that can help you even slow down or stop. So what's maybe a way that for some of you out there where you're in a pattern and it's really challenging and it's even subtle and it comes in and takes you over all of a sudden? Well, one thing that's worked for me, this is a simple idea that can help, is to post little reminders like on a Post-it or things that pop up on your phone to check in with yourself that help you create and get your mind and body in sync with, when this happens, I'm going to stop and slow down. So that's the S in S.A.V.O.R. So once you do that, and one thing that's always good when we slow down is to reconnect with our breath. as in yoga and different kinds of meditation practices teach us, that our breath is one of those amazing things. That's the first step when we stop or slow down. Let's check in with the breath and come back so we can ground and be present with what is. Then, once we do that, there's the A, and the A stands for ask. So one thing I've learned on my journey is questioning yourself, questioning your thoughts, and questioning everything that's going on in whatever that said situation might be is so important, because it's in the dialogue, the relay, the relationship with whatever that is, where you're going to be able to get the answer. So after you stop and slow down, then taking a moment, we're reflecting on this right now based on just everyday situations that pop up, so you can kind of go through this pretty quick sometimes. So once you've slowed down enough to connect a little bit deeper, then start asking the questions. And there are so many different ways to do this. I've learned over the years, question. So I'll question my thoughts, question why they're there. Is it true? A really good questioning technique, if any of you have heard of Byron Katie's 4 questions, they're fantastic. I've used it many times on my journey. I invite you to look up the work Byron Katie if you need some help questioning. I'm going to dive deeper into that later, but I don't today. Some people are really good at questioning and some aren't. We're just going to go through the process. So once you've asked, and in that process of asking, allow those answers to come forward. They may come right away, or they may take a little bit of time. You may have to move through some situation or some energy, or sit, or put yourself in a different situation or place. Like if you're inside, you may have to take yourself outside and breathe for a little bit so that your mind and stuff can shift states. Again, that's another deeper dive. We'll go into different ways of doing that. So once you've asked and you've received some form or answer, then the V is vibrating your truth. So this is really important for sensitives and empaths. When you feel something so deeply and you've felt it in a negative light or something in a way that makes it hard for you to shift, it's really important to sit, feel, and vibrate your truth. And that's why it's one step in this process. Again, it may happen fast, and that truth could be a negative, a positive, whatever is coming up for you. Emotions are a super gift of the soul that works through our body, even the negative ones. Again, another deep dive. So let's say you've gotten to your truth. Now what? So maybe the truth means now I got to speak up. Now maybe that situation doesn't work for me, whatever it may be. Or maybe I now know how to shift out and shift state so that I can be more in my power in a situation, whatever it may be. So then after you get to that, we're going to go to the O. The O is opening your heart to new possibilities, new ways of looking at things, new directions, new whatever. So after you vibrated your truth, now for some of us, it's like, oh man, I don't know if I want that truth there. It's going to make me have to really change some things in my life. So again, taking like this as a step. Sometimes opening the heart, opening the mind to this new idea is going to take some time. But again, reflecting on it from this day-to-day things, maybe not. Maybe it's just, okay, I stopped. All right, I need to do this for myself so that I'm taking care of myself, which when we take care of self, we take care of others. All right, so next, after you've opened your heart, you've received what that step is by opening your heart and allowing that step to unfold, then is the R. It's time to reassess the whole situation and take inspired action. And yes, this is a whole step. So whatever that is, it's time to act on it, make change. It may be scary. And if fear, emotions come up that almost stop you from taking that action, that's when you would start the S.A.V.O.R process over and work on the S.A.V.O.R process with that one fear. So that's how this is a really powerful process, and you can use it any place. And for senses of an empath, these 5 steps broken down are just so important. So let's reflect on the same process in something like really big. I'm going to share my story from, this was back about 2000. It started in about 2003 for me when my back went out. I had some physical challenges. I used to work for Ford Motor Company as an engineer in development, and I was on my feet a lot, driving cars in and out, and then I would sit and analyze data and waves, and I was a sound engineer. Yes, it's pretty cool actually when I think about it, how studying sound and vibration, now I like to do it with people instead, and myself, and sound healing and all that stuff. So back then I had gotten to the place at work where I started having like chest pains and things like that. This was early on, very early in my yoga journey. I had just started hatha yoga, and I was doing it not super regularly, but enough to have that experience of the breath and the power of it. And so here I was running around doing my thing, and I would come back to my desk and just heart palpitate, like my chest pains and all of those things. And then one day I'm just heard the voice, stop, slow down, and breathe. And so I did that, and I started practicing that. And that S, that stop, was a piece of that process in itself, but we're going to look at the bigger piece. So that S was it took me months to work with S on this process, because it was this is such a bigger scale thing that was happening for the S.A.V.O.R in my life at the time, and owning what was happening. So after that, yes, eventually those chest pains went away because I was starting to breathe and that sort of thing. But then not long after that, another peel of the onion showed up, and my back went out. I started having lower back pains, and from a metaphysical perspective, I've studied that my whole life, and so I was aware that there was something about my foundation, but I just my head space, my mind, my ego just didn't want to go there because it was scary. So I got to the point with that until literally over maybe 2 months where I couldn't work, and it was really interfering, getting in and out of cars, and I was pretty stubborn, so I didn't get any physical help at the time until that one day. I had to leave work early. I went home, boom, I just fell to the floor. So this is the other thing of the S in S.A.V.O.R. If we don't stop, either our body's going to stop, or some situation in life is going to come to that stop or slow down point to make us do that. So again, whether we choose the S or whether life chooses the S, we've got to slow down or stop. So when I fell to the floor, and I was just kind of at wit's end with myself and a lot of things, I immediately went into the ask. It was, okay, what is it that I need to do? Why do I feel so stressed on a bigger level? What is all of this that's going on? And so, hey Gene, I see you've joined on Instagram. So in that moment of surrender, which the S of S.A.V.O.R could also be surrender, I ask, for me, my source, God, I was like, okay, what am I doing? What does life want from me? What do I enjoy doing? Um and the answer came. So that asking was took some time, but I did get some relief with my body by surrendering. Even there was some relief, and I took some time off of work to, like, really slow down and stop, because I hadn't. I just kept push, 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 and many of you may be able to relate to that push at times, but I definitely did that. So over time, asking what is it that my soul needs, what is it that my source is trying to tell me in these situations that are unfolding, what is it that's coming up? And the answer didn't directly come right away, other than just that I needed to really slow down. So as time went along, so here's why the S.A.V.O.R thing can be big too. I decided that I needed just to, like, start looking at other things. I started having these desires. That was the key word, desire. And I didn't have a real comfort level with the word desire. I didn't feel worthy to, in my heart, when I wanted to do something really soul level, I would struggle with that. So I started desiring to move. I was out of state from where I grew up, and I was desiring to move back to where I grew up, and just felt this heart thing. It was drawing me back. I was in a relationship too, and at the time. And so I, like, okay, I hear that. I hear that. I've also, like, feel like I've come to a dead end with my engineering career, which is really scary. You don't do that in society. Leave. And I had other things that made that an even more difficult type of thing. So my ask, the answer did come. And then I had to vibrate the truth of that for some time, and really sit with, what does that look like? Go through the different emotions of it. And then after sitting with it, vibrating that for a while, I also had to really open my mind, because how could that change happen the way that it seemed like it needed to happen? Well, when things are right, there's a way that things unfolded. So I won't go into the details, even though it's fun. Life, once I surrendered, it took about 1.5 to 2 years, but a door opened, and then this set in motion, this whole series of events. I actually came back to where I grew up on vacation, which is Knoxville, and in that moment, this whole series of events, just, I had no idea that it was going to happen like that, or was really expecting it. But boom. And within 2 months, I was resigning from my job at Ford, found a job in Knoxville. The house that I was to move in came before even all of those other things happened. And so when you open up, just opening the mind to new possibilities, I'm sure everyone's had those experiences, right? Where you don't get in the way. You're just open, and then things happen, but you show up. So there's how that opening my heart and mind. And then the R was the reassess, and all that was having to take the actions as, they showed up. Here's choice points and things. And so yeah, that S.A.V.O.R process, maybe you're feeling the call in your heart to do something different, to look at things differently, to move, to change. Your relationship's not working, and there's a call to make some changes. That's where this breaking the S.A.V.O.R down and can really help you enjoy and appreciate and connect with the totality of our human body, our mind, and our soul, and how those work together. And we need to slow it down. So if you all have any questions about this. I am going to go deeper in the future, but wanted to just give you all these 5 steps to help you and explore maybe how they may be helpful in your own life, and just slowing everything down and being more present with change, evolution, self-care, and all those many things that we particularly need as an empath. Those of us, many of us empaths, man, we like to do and we like to help and all those things, but being kind and compassionate to ourselves. If we're kind and compassionate to ourselves, there's nothing that's going to hold us back from being kind and compassionate to everyone else. When we're not to ourselves, oh my goodness, our mind is kind of oftentimes locked out from those things. And when we think we're compassionate, we're oftentimes not so compassionate. And that compassion behind it is a need, an external need for validation on some level. So I hope this has helped you in some way, or maybe given you some thoughts to looking at yourself a little bit differently and deepening that connection with yourself, which I believe is the absolute most important thing we can do for anybody, and particularly us sensitives and an empath. Hey Shelly, great to see you on Facebook. So if y'all have any questions, I'm going to wrap it up tonight, but feel free to post anything. As you are so welcome, Sage. Thanks for sticking around and watching the whole connection. So over the coming weeks, I hope these to get more and more where my setup, I can actually maybe even bring some folks on to have dialogues, and we can talk about situations and explore that. Maybe over the next couple months, I see that happening. But in the meantime, we're going to deep dive. So if you have something that is on your heart that's related to being an empath or sensitive, I really would love for you to post. You can send me a private message either on any of the social media accounts, or you can email me at michael@michaellott.com. And I will include that in one of these videos, my perspective on your question. So have a fabulous day, whether you're listening now or whenever you connect to this, and so much love to y'all. My heart feels ya. So take care. Till next time.